Albert Einstein by Tori Levy. Albert Einstein was born on March 14, 1879 in Ulm, Württemberg, Germany to Hermann and Pauline Einstein. The Einsteins were middle-class German Jews. Shortly after Albert was born, the Einstein family moved to Munich, Germany, where they welcomed a second child, Maria, in 1881. It was not until Albert was 3 that he started to talk. This was later than most children, so Hermann and Pauline feared Albert had a learning disability. This is false. He was just shy and thoughtful. During his childhood, Albert took music lessons and became especially good at playing the piano and violin. But there is one significant event in his young age that he attributed to igniting his curiosity in science. When Albert was 5 years old, lying sick in bed, his father presented him with a magnetic compass. He lay there shaking and twisting the odd contraption, certain he could fool it into pointing off in a new direction. But no matter how hard he shook the compass, the needle always pointed in the direction of north. This is what triggered Albert to think that there was more to the world than meets the eye. This is when he realized he wanted to unravel the secrets of the world. The exact way Albert phrased it was, something beyond things, something deeply hidden. If one were to ask his teachers if he was a genius or would become the world's most famous scientist, the answer would have been no. He hated the school he was going to because his classes were based on memorization and obedience. Albert received good grades all throughout school, especially in mathematics and science. When his father's electricity company had failed, Hermann, Pauline, and Maria moved to Milan, Italy, so Hermann could work for a relative. Albert was left in Munich at a boarding house so he could finish high school. All alone and miserable, he surprised his parents one night by showing up at their doorstep. However, a high school dropout could apply to the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology. On the entrance exam, he exceeded in mathematics and physics but failed at French, biology, and chemistry. He was allowed admission into the Polytechnic school as long as he could finish his formal schooling. So Albert attended a special high school in Aarau, Switzerland. After Albert graduated from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, he was down on his luck. Einstein was subsequently turned down for every academic position he applied to, until his friend Marcel Grossmann's father recommended he get a job as a clerk in the Swiss Patent Office in Bern, Switzerland. The year 1905 is when everything changed for Albert Einstein. His entire life changed and his name became synonymous with the word genius. Not only did the entire scientific community learn his name, but it also became a household name and is taught to students around the world. This year is also known as his Annus Mirabilis, or Miracle Year. Albert published 4 scientific papers that year that changed the thinking of the world. The papers were an explanation of the photoelectric effect, indicating that light energy came in chunks or quanta. This changed thinking of the nature of light. Then a discussion of Brownian motion, demonstrating the existence of molecules, the nature of space and time, and the dynamics of individual moving bodies. The last 2 papers included the theory of relativity and the famous equation E = mc². Einstein developed the special theory of relativity by thinking about traveling alongside a light beam at the same speed as the light. He concluded that the speed of light is constant no matter how fast one is traveling. In 1909, Albert left the patent office in Bern and received a full-time academic job at the University of Zurich. From then until 1913, Albert had jobs at the University of Prague, the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, and finally the University of Berlin, where he served as the director of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Physics. In 1915, Albert finally finished the general theory of relativity, which he considered to be his master work. Einstein began touring the world, explaining his discoveries to crowds of thousands of people everywhere he went. In 1921, he won the Nobel Prize for his work on the photoelectric effect, as his work on relativity remained controversial at the time. During his acceptance speech, Albert spoke about relativity instead of the photoelectric effect, which stunned the audience. After Einstein was finished with his general theory of relativity, traveling, and accepting awards, he began focusing on cosmology. Albert wanted to apply his theory of relativity to everything in the universe. The Nazi movement was spreading across Europe, putting Albert's life in danger. So in 1933, Albert moved to Princeton, New Jersey. Einstein was granted permanent residency in the United States in 1935. It was Einstein's theory of relativity that made it possible for scientists to develop an atomic bomb. In July 1939, physicist Leo Szilard asked Einstein if he would write a letter to the United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt urging him to develop an atomic bomb. Roosevelt wrote back on October 19th informing Einstein that he had organized the Uranium Committee to study the issue. However, after Einstein heard the news of the bombs drops on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, he immediately called for control on all nuclear weapons, forming the Emergency Committee of Atomic Scientists. Albert Einstein's life is an extraordinary one. Without his work in physics, the world would not be the same. Albert's general theory of relativity made advancements in science and technology possible. So it is sad that the remainder of his life was blemished by professional isolation. Einstein was trying to develop a unified field theory that would explain all the secrets of the universe. He became so determined to discover this theory that he would argue with anyone that got in his way. Gradually, Einstein became set in his ways. He rarely traveled far and confined himself to long walks around Princeton with close associates, whom he engaged in deep conversations about politics, religion, physics, and his unified field theory. In 1955, Albert Einstein passed away from an aortic aneurysm. His work in finding the unified field theory was never finished, but he left a legacy that will be known until the end of time.